Welcome to the Trading Sliders Podcast. Here we go, episode number 5 of the Trading Sliders Podcast. What's going on, Flash?
Not much, Bobby.
Had a busy weekend this weekend again. I know it kind of sounds like a broken record. Busy weekend every weekend.
Yep.
But there's a lot to get into. We spent this weekend in Central Kentucky on some race trips. You made the trip down to Ponderosa Friday, and I made the trip to Lake Cumberland Saturday. So we'll get into that. Some national results. We got some USAC news, some Pennsboro news. There's all kinds of stuff to get into. But this week's show is being brought to you by Speed Decals again. Walt at Speed Decals. If you have a race car, if you have a business that you need any type of signs, letters, banners, race cars lettered, he lettered a kitchen trailer.
Yeah, work trucks.
Work trucks.
Anything you need.
Anything you need, commercial, residential. Check out Walt at Swafford Signs and Speed Decals. Big supporter of the show, and we always try to help people that help us. Check out Walt. Get started this weekend on Thursday. Because Pennsboro, Pennsboro is back to life. And I know there's a lot of naysayers going into this.
Everybody thought it was going to be a horrible single groove track.
And it wasn't the first night.
Right, yeah.
So, but before we get into the results, I mean, Barry and them at the XR, just a little over a month ago, this place was completely flooded. And, they had to put up guardrails, catch fence, bleachers, clear out hillsides, light poles, timing.
I mean, they did an amazing job for the time they had to do it in.
I think it was 6.5 weeks when they got done with the stock car $100,000 to win race. So for the 6.5 weeks, they practically built a racetrack.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And it was a pretty damn good racetrack Thursday night.
I think just last week I was watching them. They were just putting the guardrail up. I think they practiced one day when there wasn't even a guardrail.
There was no guardrail up when Devin Moran practiced.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
So, what a race on Thursday night. Bobby Pierce and Devin Moran, back and forth, rubbed a little elbow grease.
Yeah.
Short track racing on the egg-shaped track. But what I liked about it was, you never been to Pennsboro, right?
No, I never did get to go.
Okay, well, when I went, it was right around the inside wall, just slow, steady. It wasn't very good. It's just going to be honest.
Yeah.
When the guy said the party was better than the race, well, the parties were better than the race. But what I liked about this one, they were ripping the lip, beating the boards down, so to speak, at Pennsboro. Thursday night's race, I might catch flack from some older people, but that was probably the best Pennsboro race that I've seen. Friday night, they had a little weather issue, and they ran a double feature Saturday. Saturday's $30,000 to win. Oh, first Friday night, Bobby Pierce took the win over Devin Moran, and Nick Hoffman ran third. It was, like I said, it was a good race. They raced all over the racetrack.
Yeah.
Saturday night, Bobby Pierce won from the pole. Moran was second. I think Hoffman fell back to fourth or fifth, but Doug Dowd, local guy from Ohio,
ran third.
Yeah, ran third, and he's sneaky good.
Yeah.
He'd have a big show, and who's this guy? And then he's always in the top 5. So, big shout out for Doug Dowd to get up there and run with Hoffman and the National Tour guys. They had I think they had 27 cars on Thursday, and they picked up a couple. I think they ended up with 31, 33, something like that for Saturdays. But one thing I want to talk about, we talking about the work. Did you see where they got in lap traffic and some of the drivers were complaining about it being kind of narrow Thursday?
Right.
So, it rained there Friday, and they had to do some work, and Barry's like, well, if it's not wide enough for you, it will be.
We'll fix it. We'll move the guardrail.
Yeah, he moved the damn wall in and gave him 20 extra feet. So, shout out to the guys at XR. I went down to the XR race last year at Bulls Gap, and we were going to go to the Kokomo race, you and I, but we just didn't get up there. But, the guys, the experience that I had with the XR people were great. It's good for the sport, especially guys that's going to put that kind of money that they put into the the street stocks and the modified. So big shout out to the XR. It was a really really neat deal. I don't know. I wouldn't say it was great. I think the racetrack needs some work.
Oh yeah.
To be really great, but it was amazing what they did.
Yeah.
And
the time they did it, and to bring back an old racetrack that was shut down. That's the awesome part.
Yeah, that's the cool part.
Because nowadays you're seeing tracks shut down more than you're seeing new ones come up. So
that was what's really cool. but he was the guy behind the revival of Wilkesboro too.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of his passion. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take old stuff and make sure it works. You know, but overall, it was a good weekend there at Pennsboro. I don't know what kind of crowds they got. I really couldn't tell in the video.
Yeah, I couldn't either. I had a buddy that was down there, and I tried to look at his pictures to see, but he was sitting down fairly low, and you really couldn't see the stands to see how many people was there.
So hopefully, I seen where Barry. He's one of the guys that will get on social media and say if it sucked on him. You know, so
yeah.
But I did see where he said he was happy with the event. So hopefully, it wasn't a total loss, and they can make it better going forwards. Friday, USAC headed out west to Red Dirt Raceway in Meeker, Oklahoma. And you'll like this, Flash. Matt Westfall picked up the win, but he picked it up from 13th position. Kyle Cummins was ripping the top, doing Kyle Cummins things like he always does. Him and Logan Seavey started trading sliders. And Westfall was like, I'm just going to chill right here on the bottom, keep the car nice and straight, ride around real slow while you guys are banging the boards.
Yep.
And then about 7 laps to go, he took the lead and won by straightaway.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like some Crown Vic guys at the Drome.
Yeah.
He was going in so slow and straight. But one more for the old guys, out of Ohio there, Matt Westfall. We've seen him race a lot at Lawrenceburg and Putmanville and Bloomington throughout the years. But the cool thing about that was Logan Seavey ran third, and Logan Seavey clinched the sprint car title. So he's a USAC Triple Crown winner now.
Yeah.
There's only been 8 other guys to do that. But for you guys that don't know what that is, you've won the national midget title, the national sprint car title, and the USAC Silver Crown. 3 totally different type race cars.
Completely different cars.
Yeah, like to an uneducated fan, they all look the same.
Yeah, they just look like a sprint car. But
Yeah.
they're nothing about them's alike.
There's been 8 guys to do it. Poncho Carter.
Stands for itself.
Yeah, it stands for itself. Dave Darling.
Again,
You don't got JJ Yaley, Jerry Coons Jr., Tracy Hines, Chris Wyndham, and Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
So he adds his name to that list.
Yeah.
Stewart was the only one that did them all 3 in 1 year. Actually, don't quote me on this, but I think Stewart technically got 4 titles that year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he won the USAC Western States midgets too, flying back and forth across the country.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not a national thing. That's a regional deal. So,
right.
But big shout out to Logan Seavey. I know he did some wing racing and stuff this year, but he's still one of the guys that we haven't lost yet from the USAC world. So,
right.
That's really hard to do. And I didn't get to see Saturday's feature because I was at the race this Saturday. But I did see where I watched the highlights, and Justin Grant took the lead over Robert Vallue. Vallue led like the first half of the race. Caution came out, and Grant hit him with a big monster slider. He took the lead and rode off in the sunset. And I think it was Justin Grant's 10th win of the year in the USAC division. In the sprint car division. So USAC's sprint car season, like I say, is winding down, but I think they got like 4 or 5 midget races left, and it's getting to that swing where they go out west. You'll have Hangtown there at Placerville, and the midgets out west are always fun because it's at the end of the year, and you get guys from all over the country.
Everybody shows up to have some fun.
Well, they're having some fun, and they're trying to get their chili bowl shit ready to go.
Get it ready to go.
So, one last event I want to talk about this weekend. You've been there. I've never been to this place, but Marshalltown, Iowa.
Oh yeah.
239 race cars for the Harvest Hustle. I love this place. I've watched it on video numerous. Like, if you subscribe to Flow, you can watch every week of Marshalltown for free.
Oh yeah.
And Marshalltown was it's one of those places that's on my bucket list. Flash has been there.
It's probably my top 5.
Yeah, see,
that place races really good. I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of weird races between Fairbury and a little bit some other little bigger tracks, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I heard Dustin Jarrett say one time, it's like if you took Fairbury and Hobstadt and kind of mixed them up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like.
But that's a place that I'm going to go to next year. I promise you. I'm going to make it to Marshalltown.
Yeah.
But they had 239 race cars, 41 mods, and Trip Gaylord got the IMCA modified win. The thing about this is, Flash, he started on the outside front row and won, but I sort of say, why you want to talk about that race?
Yeah.
He made the trip, the 12-hour trip from Lakewood, Colorado, But listen to who was in the field, who he held off to win the race on his first ever trip to Marshalltown. Zach Vanderbeek, Cody Laney, Tom Berry Jr., Dallin Murdy, and Dylan Thornton was all the guys behind him.
Yeah.
The who's who in IMCA modified racing.
Right.
And this cat comes in and it says, I know this is your hometown and this is y'all's track, but not today. I watch this stuff on Flow every week, and I'm going to come in and show you how to do it.
Yeah.
So
that track changes quite a bit during the night sometimes too. It's pretty neat to watch.
Well, that's what it did. It started out heavy,
Yeah.
and then it got slicked off, and I was like, well, damn, it's going to be slow around the bottom.
Yeah.
And then, hell, right there at feature time, they didn't do no track prep.
Yeah.
It's like the top was like, nah, not tonight, boys. We're gonna go ahead and make it racy.
And then a lot of times the top will have a razor edge cushion up there, but them guys will still blast it, and it's pretty fun to watch.
Well, speaking of cushion and guys blasting it, we talked about it last week. Dallin Murdy won his 27 feature win in a stock car.
Yeah.
And I told you guys, I seen where he was trying to find somewhere to race. Well, he found somewhere to race, and he won his 28th feature win.
Oh, yeah.
He was blasting the top in a stock car. I think they ended up with 38 or 39 stock cars. So good car count in the two IMCA major divisions. But Dallin Murdy won over Jimmy Gustin.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when we were at Super Nationals and Jimmy Gustin flipped down the backstretch?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They worked all night to get that thing back together, though.
Yeah. So Dallin Murdy, feature win number 28 in the stock cars this year. I haven't talked to him or seen any posts or anything, but hopefully he's still trying to find some races because he said he's trying to get 30 wins. So
he's getting closer.
He's getting closer each week. I mean, if they've got a stock car race, that's what it's going to be. Dallin Murdy's going to be up front.
Yeah.
So now let's get into our weekend trips. Friday, I had some things to do with the family. Halloween party. Dressed up as Macho Man, so anybody that follows us on social media can see my fat gut hanging out.
Was it Macho Man or Nacho Man?
Well, it was Nacho Man because I was eating plenty. Yeah, I was eating plenty, but hey, piss on them. I won the costume contest, all right? So that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. But Kurt made the trip. I think Kurt and his buddy Chuck went down.
Yeah.
And they made the trip to Ponderosa Speedway for the Big Daddy Classic. We've talked about this place because they've had a couple rough starts, getting back together, but they had a good field of cars and ended up with 80 race cars. So, Flash, tell us about the trip to Ponderosa Speedway Friday for the Big Daddy Classic.
Yeah, me and my buddy took off and went down there, and we got there a little early so we could, check out some cars and stuff. We didn't actually go in the pits, but there you can get kind of close. So, we did that, and then we went and started watching the races, and they had took them a little while to get the track going. That's the only thing I'm going to say about it. They kind of mess around a little longer than what I like. But,
here we are. We'll do positive and negative because my race trip's got some positive and negatives too.
But this guy's only his second time running the race, so I'm not going to down him yet.
We're just happy that the racetrack's open.
Yeah, and they had a few problems as the night went on too.
Yeah,
nothing major, but they was out. They hot lap everything, and then they were qualifying late models, and Chris Oliver was qualifying, and he was running up. The cushion got right up against the wall, right past the pit gate where the guy flipped over the wall last time.
Yeah.
And he ran in there wide open the first lap and threw sparks off of it. And I told my buddy, I said, he's going to be careful doing that because I've ran Ponderosa. I know that's a little tricky spot right there. Well, next lap he come in, and he hot it a little harder, got up on the wall, turned it over two times, I think, and tore the whole front end off of it and everything. So we figured he was done for the night. But he actually got the thing back together and made it out for the feature. He wasn't as fast as he needed to be to keep running, so he only ran a couple laps and he pulled in.
But shout out to his crew.
Yeah, that's what I said. To get the car back together, I didn't think he was going to get it back together because it had everything ripped off the right front. And I don't, you think usually when you turn it over twice, like it tear some stuff up on the rear end too. But
I know Robbie Brown was there, Blake Brown's dad, and Robbie's a big competitor, but. I heard that Robbie and Tyler, a couple of the guys that were just hanging out for the weekend, helped him get the car back together.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Tyler. Tyler works around the clock on race cars, but Robbie and Tyler helped the guy get the car back together, and that's neat taking a spill like that, and at least you got some of your money back.
He was from down in Alabama too, where he came from, coming to run. I think he was going to run both nights, but I don't think they ended up running Lake Cumberland. So
no, he wasn't. I
believe they had a crate car and had the late model and a crate car there too. Yeah. So that was pretty cool if they made the trip up here anyway. But anyway, in the late models though, they the heat races were really good, and actually racing was good all night long. I mean, there was top and bottom. They were doing sliders and everything there, so it was actually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, when Ponderosa's got some character and some moisture, it does race better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's rough on shit, but
yeah,
it races
hard.
better.
But the track stayed smooth though. I've been there before, and it'd been like, I mean, gravel road, but it was actually really nice the other night. Those guys could run in. They could do sliders without tearing stuff up. But in late models, Jason Jamison got out about a straightaway lead on him for a while, and then he ran into some slower traffic, and a couple guys running side by side there, and let Dalton Wilson catch him. And when Dalton caught him, he made the move, kind of made a power move to the bottom, and kind of slid up between the slow car and Jamison. And after he got the lead, he just kind of ran off. He got out there about 5 car lengths ahead, but man, the race from second, third, fourth, fifth, it was unreal. They were all over each other. I mean, you could throw a blanket over those 4 cars. It was really a good race.
Well, see, it's not often you can surprise Jason Jamison either.
Yeah,
he's usually the one making the bold moves in traffic. So
well, to just say something about that, everybody had went out and qualified, and I think he was the last one out to qualify. And I told my buddy, I said, this is probably going to be quick time right here. I said, because this guy mashes the gas, and he'll hammer down around there. And sure enough, he set fast time. So, but yeah, that was a good race. And then the mods was another good race. Other than had quite a few cautions, but had a first start. Brian Barber got the lead on Ben Harmon, and they got out there run about. Well, they had about 3 restarts on the start of the race, and then Ben finally got the lead on him when they got 1 lap in. And I think they were kind of bickering back and forth who was going to be leading, but they ended up putting Ben up front. And then after Ben got the lead up there, he held off Brian Barber, which is very hard to do.
Yeah, that's
on any track in Kentucky.
Yeah,
I don't care where it's at.
Especially Ponderosa Speedway.
Yeah, especially Ponderosa. So hats off to Ben Harmon for holding him off, and David Clark coming third that night. But Ben actually had to hold him off for about 5 restarts at the end of the race with 2 to go. I mean, he just had to.
Well, that's what as I talked to Brian and Ben Saturday down there, and when I was at Lake Cumberland, and Ben was like, I didn't know if I was gonna get him. We kept having these cautions, and Brian said every time I got a run on him, we have a caution and the guy had to line up on the outside of me. It'd take me a lap or 2 to dispose of him. Yeah. So sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield in those situations.
Yeah, it worked out good. That was a really good race too. And then the Pro Late models, it was Skylar Marlar got up front there, and when they took off, and he got the lead and got out there pretty good ways. And then same way, he caught traffic, and then Jeff Watson caught him. And Jeff actually passed him on the bottom, and probably if he wanted to be a little dirty, he could have probably slid him and took the spot, but he didn't do it. And then Skylar got back around him and got out front, and then they pretty much ran that way the rest, the last 5 or 6 laps of the race. But it was actually a good race too. I mean, the crates race good there.
Yeah, the crate late models in Kentucky, like 4 or 5 years ago, you had a couple cars and then the field. Now you've got some really because the tracks aren't running super late models anymore. So now you got really good equipment. And this week's deep dives, we kind of get in that conversation with Jeff Watson. Yeah. But the crates now, it's the most competitive division in Kentucky, especially Central Kentucky.
Yeah. And they did run Crown Vics, and I was just going to mention that Jeffrey Kramer won. I didn't get to stay to watch that race, so I can't tell you if it was a good race or not. But it was running a little late, and I had 2 hours to get home, and I had stuff to do on Saturday, so I had to try to get home. It was still a little later when I got home than I wanted to be, but it was all right.
Well, a lot of times if you go to the racetracks south of the Ohio River, it's going to be later than you want it to be. That's just part of it.
I plan on that, so it doesn't really bother me because I pretty much know what time it's going to be when I get home. So
well, that's what I tell people when we get talking about it. It's like if you go south of the Ohio River, it's going to be late. Yeah. Once you get south of Atlanta, it's going to be really late. Yeah. And then once you get back to Florida, they kind of speed it back up. It's like being up here in the Midwest. So
it don't matter where you go when you get south of the Ohio River. It slows down. You go to Waffle House or wherever.
It doesn't make a difference. It slows. They're on
their time.
They're on their time. Yep. Funny story, real quick. One time we were at Bulls Gap, and we go across the street and get something to eat. Me and Kurt do, and we sat down and there's a sign that says, "We don't serve fast food. We serve good food."
Yeah.
and no shit, they didn't serve fast food. It took us about 30 minutes to get our food.
We were hoping we were going to make it to the racetrack in time.
It's like we're the only people in America that get to the racetrack 4 hours early and miss hot laps because Milgrid in here is making us biscuits from scratch.
Yeah. But it was good food.
It was good food. So overall, trip to Ponderosa?
Oh, it was good. Yeah. I mean, they still got a little work to do as far as running the show, but I mean, they did. I think they did the best they probably could for that night. I mean, and the track was excellent. I mean, when I first got there, I thought it was going to be bad because it was throwing some dust when they was out there just rolling it in a couple places, but I don't know. It looked like water came back out of it or something. So
when it gets cool like this, you get down in that red clay, it kind of works itself back up a little bit.
Yeah. It was good. It was a good show though.
Well, Saturday I made the trip down to Lake Cumberland Speedway. My wife told me we were going to Lake Cumberland. I was trying to go over to Illinois, but she was like, "No, we're going to go to Lake Cumberland." So beautiful drive down there this time of year.
The trees.
The trees.
That's what I was going to say on the way down down there. It was good just for that, just to see all the trees.
Yeah, it was a beautiful time, and I'm kind of glad I went to Lake Cumberland because it was a Jeff Gullett tribute. And, Gullett meant a lot to everybody in the state of Kentucky. The Southern All-Star Super Late Models were there. They ended up with 109 cars in all the classes.
Man, that's good.
So they had a good car count. But
pits were packed at that place.
Yeah, well.
or out in the parking lot.
Well, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, the pits were packed. That's going to be a part of our negative trip. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But they ended up with 15 Super Late Models. I think they had 20 crates. But they had 28 modifieds.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest modified car count I think they've had in like 4 or 5 years there, Lake Cumberland Speedway.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys brought the cars out of woodwork. But in the Super Late Models, when we got there, we walk around talking to everybody. And I ran to West from Dirt Racing in the Bluegrass. And he said, "Tell you hi." And we're newsflash, we might be doing a little bit of how do you say it?
Conglomeration, maybe?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Like the boys from up here are going to talk to the boys from down there, okay? We're going to kind of work together. We're not big on all these big words, so we've got some things in the works with the podcast down there from Kentucky. We're going to do some things together. They're really cool guy. Actually, they gave me some information about how to get this stuff started and how to do all this. So
we appreciate that.
Yeah, we have a working relationship with people in the podcast business. Yeah. Okay, so I was talking to him and they had they qualifying and stuff, and they had a Crown Vic get in the wall and barrel roll down the backstretch.
Oh man!
While we were talking, and so we're talking, and we love him to death. He's country, And he goes, "I'll be damned. They just put one on its lead." But yeah, they turned one over there on the backstretch, but it was time for qualifying, and I walked down and there's Devin Gilpin there, and I told Gilpin, I said, "You're going to be all right tonight." He said, "I hope so. I've been running like crap lately."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, when I crossed the racetrack earlier, the track was hard as hell."
Yeah.
It looked like it was wet. But it was hard. I said, "This is going to be like Brownstown tonight. All you're going to do is keep it straight and you're going to be fine."
Yeah.
So he went out and qualified, and he was second quick qualifier in his group. But Super Late Models, they ended up with 15 cars. Probably the best late model race I've seen at Lake Cumberland Speedway in a long time.
Really?
Michael Chilton started up front, took the lead. Devin Gilpin started fourth, and Gilpin got right into second real quick, like on lap 2 or 3. I think they went... It's a 40-lap feature, and they maybe went 25, 27 laps before the first and only caution.
Oh, yeah.
And when the caution came out, it was a guy was actually trying to pull in the pits, and the guy got underneath him and tagged him. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so it was a real clean race, but they were you could run top, bottom, and Chilton was he was up on the top, and Gilpin started rolling the bottom, and Gilpin reeled him in. So right before the caution come out, Gilpin got up beside him like twice.
Yeah.
So one thing, I was never really a fan of this, but it made this race better because I always like the Delaware double file restarts.
Right.
Well, Southern All Star Series, they do a true
they
double
do
file restart.
True double file.
So they put Gilpin up on the outside because Chilton chose the bottom, and Gilpin made a good run in 1 and 2, but as he got down in backstretch, Chilton had about 3 car lengths on him, and Tanner English, stuck his nose in there. So Gilpin ripped the top. Took him about 3 laps to get around Tanner English. English actually got by him, and when that happened, it opened up the lead for Chilton. Or if not, Gilpin probably would have won the feature because once Gilpin got back by English, like I said, there was about 5 laps to go, and he just started rolling him in. And, Gilpin said after the race that he seen Chilton's crew guys on the backstretch pointing to the bottom.
Right.
So he pointed their crew guys, like Chilton been running the middle or the top the whole race.
Right.
And on the white flag lap, as they were coming to the white, Gilpin got his nose underneath Chilton going into 1 and just followed him through 1 and 2. And Chilton, went to the bottom in 3 because his crew guys were pointing down there. And Devin Gilpin full sended in turn 3 on the top side and got beat by half a car length at the line.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really, really good finish. As Gilpin said in his interview, he wished that he knew the top was that good. He would try that 3 or 4 laps, before that. Because he was pretty consistent of, rolling the bottom in while everybody else was up there trying to, beat the top down.
Gilpin's pretty easy on his equipment most of the race, but if he has to get up there and get on the wheel, he does it. Man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Devin Gilpin, he was kind of walking around before the race, his little gleam in his eye, and you kind of.
I'm kind of a Devin fan because I watched him when he first started racing up at Thunder Valley Speedway.
Yeah, and the little mini stocks there.
Stock cars,
yeah, the kid Dasco. Not such a kid anymore.
No. Actually, at Ponderosa Friday night, he came from about mid-pack up to 5th.
That's right.
He was, like I said, he was under that blanket I was talking about with those guys.
That's what he told me when I talked to him. He was like, his exact words, I've been running like shit.
Yeah, he didn't look good in hot laps or qualifying, but man, the feature, he got it figured out.
Yeah, they stumbled onto something, and they said Kid Dasco just about got him a win there. It was a really good race. And then the crate race, Skylar Marler jumped out to the lead, and he checked out. But the race from 2nd to 10th was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
They were slide jobbing each other all over the place. Logan Wall started like 15th and got up to 2nd.
Man.
Kevin Kofer and Jeff Watson were battling. Watson kind of got into I don't think he really got into the wall. He got close enough to the wall that a couple guys got by him because about halfway through the crate race, it rubbered up.
Right.
And just locked down on the bottom like Alabama rubber. It was had the orangest tint to it,
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked. And there's a lot of people. There was a guy sitting to my left. He was like, this place always rubbers up. And I was like, I'm not going to bitch about a racetrack rubbering up.
No.
Because, it happens. It was cool all day. They watered the track. It was rain in the area. So I'm not going to say the racetrack could have done this or could have done that. But, it sucks when the racetrack rubbers up.
Right.
And a little side note of this, before I get into the mod feature, there's a couple sitting to our right last night, and this lady's 5th time ever to a dirt track.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny seeing new fans, because sometimes we're kind of jaded because we go to the races so much, and we enjoy it, we love it, but there's things and we're just like the other night you knew he was gonna be out there late, so you're just kind of dreading it a little bit. Like I kind of knew the modified feature was gonna suck because it was rubbered up,
right?
And she's tickled to death, happy as hell, watching race cars side by guys trying the top, and they're just going backwards, and she's like, that guy's trying something, and I'm like, yeah, that was all for none, but so it's good seeing new people at the racetrack, because a lot of times we just kind of as we just assume everybody goes to the racetrack 100 times a year, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So but as we got into the mod feature, like I said, the track was rubbered up, and Brian Barber was starting on the pole, and Barber was like 2 or 3 tenths faster in qualifying than I think second qualifying was Jacob Hall out of Wayland, Kentucky. But Barber took the lead on the initial start when the green came out. As they came off turn 2, everybody was trying to get to the bottom because it was rubbered up, and they had the Talladega big one in the backstretch going into 3. I think 8 or 9 cars were involved.
Yeah.
Took about 35 minutes to clean up the racetrack. There was shit sitting everywhere. It was a nasty wreck.
We lose bumpers and stuff around here.
Yeah. It was one of those. It was one of those type cautions. When there's a debris, it's bumpers and stuff. So.
We heard that at the racetrack.
Yeah, that's. Where was we at when we heard that?
That's what the guy said.
Yeah, I can't remember where it was.
He said if they wreck here, there's bumpers and shit all over the racetrack.
Yeah, the guy goes because there was plastic on the racetrack and they kept racing.
Yeah.
And then when the caution came out, there was a whole like front bumper and nose, and he goes, "Well, we gotta throw a debris caution." Guys, I can't remember what place it was.
I don't know. It was down south.
I'm thinking it was at Red's place.
It might have been. Yeah.
I think it was at Screven Speedway. Yeah. And the guy's like, "Well, we got caution here for debris. It's like bumpers and shit." But like I said, the racetrack was, it rubbered up, and there was a major wreck. And one thing. Let me talk about the good first. Like I said, Brian Barber took the win over Jacob Hall, and Brian Nance were in third. So overall, it was the best late model race I've seen at Lake Cumberland Speedway in a long time.
Yeah.
But there's a few issues because we talk about the good and the bad. There's a few issues that happened at the racetrack that I want to address. Issue number one is, like you said, when the pits were full, there's race cars parking everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know the guy's name, and I don't want to out anybody, but the guy that's helping park the haulers, the way that he was talking to the guys that was trying to park the trailers, if he would have talked to me like that, we never would have got into the racetrack.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate for whooping anybody's ass, but that right there could have well called for it. It was you don't treat people that come and support your event that way. I don't know Brandon that well, Hargrove, that runs the racetrack. I know he, for a while he took care of that place and Ponderosa,
right?
Which is hard to do.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, but I don't know Brandon, so to speak, as other guys do. But I do know when you have people that's working for you, because just like business, anything in life, they can't talk to the competitors, the fans, the way this guy did. That was really, really uncalled for. And hell, he could have just been having a bad day.
Yeah.
But you don't talk to people like that when they're coming to support your event. That was number one. Like I said, I thought the racetrack was pretty good for the late model race. But the racetrack did lock down, which happens. But when that does happen, and you have a whole field that crashes on the backstretch, and 4 or 5 of those guys can't continue the race, and I had a couple guys reach out to me, and you don't get paid to start the race when you took the green.
Yeah.
I'm not cool with that. Right. I know some people say, well, you got to complete a lap. The bottom of the flyer says $200 to start.
Right.
If they wave the green flag and you go into turn 1, you started.
Yeah.
If there's a crash because the track's locked down, that's not your fault that everybody was involved in it.
Yeah.
So I think that was a terrible deal. Me being a former racer.
Well, a lot of those guys don't realize that $200 is a lot of money for some of them guys. That's whether they make it to the track or not sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm going to say. Me being a former racer, I'm all for every racetrack, support every racetrack. But if I was racing in that situation, I would not go back.
Right.
That's just me. I'm not telling guys not to go back.
Yeah.
Just saying, but me in general, I would not go back because you had 28 cars. So the field was set. They raced their way into the A main. They took the green flag. They started the race. They didn't complete the race, but they started the race.
Right.
So, by the way that they justified not taking care of those guys, that's essentially saying if you're running on lap 15 and your car breaks and you didn't finish the race, that they don't have to pay you.
Yeah.
Because that's the same difference as starting or going 1 lap.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't a big fan of that. And maybe there was some,
Well, when you get that kind of car count and everything, and those guys, even if it is in your rule that you don't make a whole lap, it would be common courtesy to pay those. I looked on there. There's 4 guys that probably
there was 4. I didn't know how many there was.
But still, that's...
But I had 2 guys reach out to me, so I know 2 guys for sure.
Right, so that's...
And one of those guys had 10 people at the racetrack with him. So that's $450 to get through the gate.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And he tore up his equipment going down the backstretch.
I'm pretty sure every one of those guys that come in brought $200 to get in. You know what I'm saying? Is what they spent to get in there. So all they'd be doing would be giving them their money back.
So. Yeah, so I'm not a fan of that.
And you already had 20 cars, so there was 10 cars that didn't even make the race. They're not getting no money anyway.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not a fan of that. And I don't support that. If the drivers want to go support that, that's on them. But to me, I'm not a fan of that. That's one of those things that we can go back and forth over rule changes or race procedures but if a guy is supporting your event, and this isn't just like Cumberland, I know this goes on other places. Because there was a big controversy a few years ago back at Brownstown over tow money, because if you missed the feature forever at Brownstown because they always had so many cars, you got, I think it was like $40. Tow money.
Yeah, I think
a couple years ago they took that away. If you missed the race, you just didn't get any money back.
Right.
Which I'm okay with that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm really okay with that, because the guy went, paid his due.
Right.
And I understand it's a business, but I'm just not a fan of. I mean, if the guy takes the green flag, he started the race.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just.
But I know it's a business, but those guys are your product.
Yeah.
I mean, that you're trying to sell.
Yeah, that's
whether you like it or not. You're not selling your racetrack. Your racetrack is not going to have people sitting there if there's no race cars on it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
So, I don't know. Like I said, it may not be the end all be all. It may not be as bad as it rubbed me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But as a former racer, and I just. And especially like we've been talking to people about the cost of racing, and like that just left a bad taste in my mouth. So it's not I'm not picking on Brandon Hargrove or Lake Cumberland Speedway or trying to start any online beef or none of that stuff. To me, that was just something that I didn't I didn't agree with. So
right.
But it's like anything else. If people don't agree with stuff all the time, so
yeah. Well, that's what we say on here. We're gonna say it if we don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. We just call it how we see it. And we look at it from a racer standpoint. So with that, that was all the rundowns. Overall, on the fans aspect, the trip to Lake Cumberland was great.
Yeah.
The Super Late Model race was competitive. Dwayne Keith, the announcer for the Southern All-Stars, is hilarious. He was good on the mic. I mean, he's the guy that says "boom" with the Ric Flair. He does all the. So and they did a great tribute to Jeff Gullick. So shout out to Brandon Hargrove on that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I wasn't a fan of how things were handled. From a racer's point of view.
Right.
But. That's stuff that, maybe they can work on, or maybe they can say, piss on it. This is the way we do it. If you don't like it, don't come back. So, it's their racetrack to make that decision. It's not mine.
Right.
So, anything else about the racing trips this weekend, Flash?
No, that's, like I said, I just went down there and I had a party to go to yesterday all day. So I didn't get to watch anything yesterday at all. And, I just got home today from doing other stuff today too, so I didn't get to do a whole lot this weekend as far as racing goes, other than Friday night.
All right. Well, next we're going to get into our deep dives with Campbellsville, Kentucky's Jeff Watson, and then we'll come back with upcoming events and where you can find us next week. So enjoy the interview with Campbellsville, Kentucky, Jeff Watson. It's time for the Trading Sliders Deep Dives presented by Kentucky Clutch and Performance. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week on the Trading Slider Podcast, Deep Dives, we're here with none other than Campbellsville owned J-Watt, Jeff Watson. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Thanks for coming on. Me and Kurt this is our first time we've done a three-way interview, so
yeah, so we're kind of new to this.
Yeah, I know Jeff good enough that he's going to be our guinea pig. So. So we're sitting. Actually, guys, I know a lot of guys knew this. Dirt on Dirt did a big article, but we're actually sitting in the shop right now. That the racing museum, the Vermilion, the one that burnt down, and I try to always start positive, but since we're sitting in the shop here, Jeff, how is it, surreal that you're working back out of the same shop?
Well, it is positive the way I look at it, because at the time when it burnt down, we had thoughts of just quitting racing, but then my dad would kick my hind end, so we jumped in here and built it back, and now we race out of it. And I got another garage here to the side, but honestly, I'll do more racing out of this one after we built this back. So,
well, see, it's a beautiful shop. I'll give you that. It's a nice shop, and hell, I would love to have the ceiling that you have, because in my garage it gets hotter than hell. It's got a nice spray foam, but I was reading the article, and it was it was happening right at the time that your dad was getting introduced into the Hall of Fame, which that has to go kind of both ways. It's a somber moment because you lost a shop, but in the same token, the Watson family, I'll say this because I said it to you. I'm not just saying it because you're on the show. I mean, I said this at the racetrack. There's a couple names in Kentucky dirt late model racing that stand above the others, and the Watson family name is right there with it. So that had to be great. I know it sucked that you was losing the shop, and like you said, it turned into a positive. But it's got to be awesome that your dad got elected into the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame.
That was probably the highlight of my whole racing career, going up there, getting to accept that at Florence. But it was like you said, it was right after this burned, and it was like a museum in here, man. We had everything hanging from the ceiling and all kinds of pictures and his old racing suits, all kinds of trophies and whatnot, and vintage racing doors. But that day at the Hall of Fame, that kind of fixed it all when I got to do that.
Yeah, well, I bet it did. Because Kurt and I, we both raced, with our dad, growing up, and
yeah,
we were talking before we went on air. It was like, my dad's shop. It's not like it's huge or anything, but it's still my dad's shop. I mean, it's where we spent my whole life. So,
Yeah.
Right.
So I get it. And Kurt still races out of his shop. That they.
Yeah, we built our garage ourselves too. Me and my dad did. So.
It's I get it. It's really racing. Especially, we've been doing this for 24 years, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so you've been doing this for 24 years. So, racing is one big family. And, I say this all the time to people. When you race, is it about competition and wins? Yes. But it's more about the relationships. And, the relationship with your dad, relationship with Campbellsville alone. You say Campbellsville, Kentucky. I stopped by the creek and got some water out of it because I just want some of Campbellsville water.
Yeah.
I want what you guys got in the water.
Exactly.
I tell you what, if you'll look at that door right there, there's been a lot of Hall of Famers walk through there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've seen them from the time I was a young kid. They'd walk right through there just like any old people, but, they're Dirt Late Model Hall of Famers.
Yeah. And I'm going to go out and say this. You are going to be in the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. I don't know if who we can reach out to, but with your racing resume, especially regional racing, we're going to get into that. But with your racing resume, you have to, you're making new memories. There's more checks on the wall. You got the burn up old smoky roof with the record 24 wins hanging up there. So, it's not always all gloom and doom. We're here and the shop's beautiful, and we're going forwards, and I like the attitude you're taking.
Yeah. We're going to keep plugging along. Like I said, I don't know when my end is coming, but it's coming soon, but I don't know when. But as long as I'm still racing, I'm going to be working as hard as a young kid would, because that's all I know.
Well, you say it's coming soon, but we got 3 complete race cars sitting here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like a
It
guy
doesn't
that's
look like you're slowing down much.
Yeah, I was saying, that don't sound like a guy that's slowing down.
And they're all in pretty awesome shape, it looks like.
Well, when we run out of something to do, we always got something else to do, so that's the way we look at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, there's plenty to do on the race cars. Speaking of wins, and I know a lot of guys don't want to tote, I've won this many races, I've won X amount of races, but earlier this year I got to interview you after one of your wins, and you just sealed the track championship up at Rock Castle. And I made a comment, and there were some people in the stands as I was walking down said, damn, Watson won again. And that just burnt me not because we're the best friends or anything, but I know how hard it is to win. Not that I was on your level by any means, but I've won quite a bit of races myself. And, that just sent something to me. And I'm like, talent-wise, Jeff Watson has as much talent as anybody in the state. Backing-wise, not so much.
No.
You do it on your dime. I mean, I'm sure you've got great sponsors, but you do it yourself. And, I made a comment that, you guys need to kind of enjoy this while it's here, because there's not a lot of, longevity in a regional racer that's going to kick somebody's ass every week. And, I appreciate that you're still doing this after all these years.
And you don't know, whenever you're expected to win, that's the hardest thing to do, man. It's just like basketball, if you've won the championship, it's hard to come back and win that next one. It's when you roll in the gate and people say, well, you're the favorite, that's the hardest thing, because all that could happen is something go wrong.
Yeah, you can only go backwards.
Yeah.
that's,
And
yeah.
to keep, doing what we're doing, it amazes me. But we got a good crew, and we've got good chemistry, and we've been together a long time, and that's what matters.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to relationships. Racing is about relationships. Kurt and I, we raced together at the Sportsdrome before I started running dirt. He beat my ass every week because he beat everybody's ass at the Sportsdrome. That's what he did. But, we one time he was leading the feature and I was new. I just got started out. And hell, I pointed to the inside. And, because, he was coming up to lap me, I pointed to the inside and he went to the inside. And I turned left and damn near put him in the U tire.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I was telling him where I was going because I didn't know what the difference,
Yeah.
So, it's about relationships, and now 15, 20 years, we travel every weekend, go to races together when, our dads raced together and hell, he was ready to kick my ass. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, my dad and your dad's wrecked together a lot of times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So speaking of family, I know you got a daughter and she's playing college basketball. And
She's not. She played high school.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in college to be a pharmacist.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, she played college basketball, and this is where I'm segueing. I played high school basketball. This is where I'm segueing this into. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, Jeff Watson is a badass race car driver. Yes, when he comes to your racetrack, he's got a chance. Not a chance. He's a favorite to win, but he's also a high school basketball referee. Me being a former basketball coach, you would think as we're sitting here, we try to fight each other. But, tell us about that. Because, for me, when I coached basketball, it was a kind of a break to get away from racing because, I love racing as much as anybody, but, you have to do something else to stay sane. So is that what, basketball officiating is for you?
Yeah, people don't know I love basketball. I played it, and when I graduated, I almost walked on at Campbellsville. At the time, was Campbellsville College, and but the coach passed away that summer, so all that fell through. But I started officiating because a guy come out of the stands and jumped on the little league referee at the time, and they needed somebody to fill in. I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I did it that day, and I've been doing it. Well, I did it for 24 straight years. And then my daughter started playing, so I took a 10, 11-year hiatus, and now I've started back. But in that time, I've called 3 state championships, Rupp Arena, and a bunch of Class A state championships, and I was in small college NAIA level. But I feel like I do a good job refereeing, try to be fair.
Well, see, that's the thing about Jeff Watson. If he does it, he's going to be good at it, okay? He's probably, without a shadow of a doubt, probably the best regional late model racer in the Bluegrass State. I'll say that. He probably won't say that. He's kind of humble. He won't say that he's better than anybody else. But, the Trading Sliders podcast, we tell it how it is. We'll say it.
Yeah.
I don't care to hurt somebody.
Stats pretty much prove that too.
Yeah, I don't care to hurt somebody's feelings, and if, we can discuss it if they want. But Jeff, I got a question. I don't know how to put this without sounding like, I'm trying to slight anybody, but there's a lot of guys, especially in your area. There's a lot of car owners in your area, and you've never really gotten a fair share at a top super late model ride. You're doing the best you can with your budget, but I think as a fan there should have been more opportunities for Jay Watt. How do you feel about that? Or am I looking too deep into it? Or
I've wondered that too because my dad, his record speaks for itself. He had a lot of good car owners, and I've wondered that over the years because we've been pretty decent at what we're doing. I think we're not hard on equipment. We run up front and try to be professional. But I've wondered that, and I don't really know the answer to that because there's a lot of money around, and nobody's really gave me a shot at the big time. But I feel like no matter what you're doing, if you put the time in, you're going to be good at it. And I feel like we've done that in the crates. I used to super late model race, but my super late model wasn't like everybody else's super late model. But we won several, but it wasn't like everybody else's. You know, our equipment, it was decent, but it wasn't top notch. So, but you know, I'm proud of what we. You know, when it's all said and done, we may look back and say we're more proud about what we did if we didn't get that chance. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you're doing it your way.
Yeah.
You're not a yes man. You know, you're not a kid that's bringing sponsors to the table to get a ride.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just a guy that's, you know, working in the shop every night. And, you know, if it, just like I talked to you after Eldora, and you said, well, I sucked. Yeah. I mean, I was like, well, I wouldn't say you sucked. Well, no, I pretty much sucked. So
one of the real blue collar racers, like what we like to call them.
Yeah, that's the type racer we was. I mean, you know, I was the type guy that, this is a funny story at Glasgow when I first started running my mod. You know, Victor Lee was parked next to us, and, you know, Victor's winning everything. And he was, I don't think he was driving for Toll Bridge, but Toll Bridge was around. And I knew Toll Bridge from Louisville, the Louisville area. So he had his car all jacked up on the fancy lift, and I had a regular jack. And I just crawled right there and measured everything. I measured his bars. And Toll Bridge is like, I mean, there it is. Look at it. So, you know, I was a guy that did it my way. And it probably pissed some people off on the way. But, you know, I just think that I really wish for the state of Kentucky sake that you get an opportunity. You know, there's plenty of rides out there. And you know, it's easy for me to say that because I'm spending somebody else's money, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, regional racing is what you do. And, you know, we need more regional racing. And we need racetracks in the state of Kentucky, in your area, to work together. Do you feel like there's a little bit too much politics being played, or do you think that, you know, what's your thought on, let's, you know, I know everybody can't take off. So, you know, we can't, well, so-and-so's running, so we're not racing. But, you know, there's less and less cars to go around. So what do you think we need to do to save local short track racing? Because that's what you do. So, you know, you're an expert at this.
I feel like right now it's kind of a every man for himself kind of deal, and it don't need to be like that. You know, when one track's running a big show, nobody needs to buck heads with a big show. I mean, even, maybe run classes that, you know, your lower level classes, but like if somebody's having a big crate race, nobody else run crates. Let all the crates go to that one race. But this bucking head stuff, you know, it's killing racing. And as far as me, you know, like people get on me because they might be a big race over here. Well, I'm leading the points over here. Yeah, I've been winning races. Do I want to go run for 3,000 or do I want to win this points championship? I want to do what makes me happy. So if this track's running against this track, then I'm up in there. What am I going to do? You know, we got a good fast car. We can go win 3,000. But we want to run for these track points, so what do?
Yeah, that's something that, you know, a lot of guys don't really understand that. I tell people this all the time because I work for the Cumberland Plateau Pool Modified Series. It's the old answer was pay the most money, you'll get the most cars. That's not the answer anymore.
I don't think that's it.
That's not the answer
anymore.
no more. No. You know, that's not the case. Now, I've seen it on, hell, you see that on even the Lucas Oil Late Model Series. You got a race pays $50,000 to win. You get 30 cars. You got a race pays $10,000 to win, you get 60. So it's more, how do you treat people? How do people be treated? And do you like running that racetrack? That's, you know, so.
That's the main thing.
Well, that, and you also and then now you have to figure in the cost of fuel and the cost of getting there, you know, versus what it used to be 5-10 years ago, which it costs you double to go do that now. So
tire rule.
Yeah, tire rules. You got to, you know, get different tires in different places. That's one of my main reasons I don't run my crate at certain places, because I'd have to have 2 sets of tires now.
All right, well, let me ask you this then. Do you think – there we go, Campbellsville, baby.
There we go.
Yeah, we're in the heart – downtown Campbellsville. The guy just cracked by on a motorcycle. I don't know if it picked it up. But, you know, here we are. Do you think that we need like the Battle of Bluegrass Series, it could be crates or maybe in a limited late model – with a crate type rule, like a late model, a regional touring division. Do you think Kentucky, A, do you think that it needs one, and B, do you think it can support one?
I would like to see it. I don't think it needs to be a lot of races. It wouldn't need to be very many races, maybe 8, 10.
Yeah, 15 at the most.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of races because then you're dragging cars every weekend. But if you had a few races like that, like you said, I think it would go over because, I would like to do it. I'm not going to do the Tennessee series because they go everywhere. I mean, they're out in South Carolina.
Yeah, Virginia.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do that. I used to referee college basketball, and I quit doing that because of the travel.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Well, and where you're centrally located, you got 5 racetracks in your area. You shouldn't. I mean, you're at the age now you shouldn't have to travel like that unless you just want to.
Right.
I mean, I say when you're a kid, you need to race as much as possible.
Right.
Everywhere you can. But when you've been doing it for damn near 25 years, you got, you have the right to be picky. Mm-hmm. You have the right to choose what you want to do. Because like the Battle of Bluegrass series, everybody thinks that it was some major series, but it wasn't. It was your best guys at your local racetracks all getting together and racing for the sake of racing. And I think Kentucky needs something like that. Guys like you, even like Michael Chilton, there's all kinds of guys that, they run businesses. They can't travel. A, their budget don't let them travel, but B, they need somewhere to race.
Right.
And we need something in the state of Kentucky. I don't know what the answer is, but we need something in the state of Kentucky. So, I'm hoping somebody puts something like that together. I really do. I know you got on to me and told me I need to, and I was like, hell, you know more people than I do. How am I going to do it? I mean, Jeff said at the racetrack one night and told me everything we need to do to run a series, and I said, okay, well, you find the money, and I'll show up and help you.
That's your job.
Yeah.
Find the money.
Yeah, well, so you picked up the track championship this year. And it's been a couple years since you ran for a championship, hasn't it? Because you've kind of been the true outlaw, so to speak.
The only reason we did that this year is because since Rock opened, we've won a lot of races over there. One year we won 10 features over there and didn't win the points. And coming in this year, I said, we got 2 goals. I want to win the Rock points. First of all, I want a parking spot over there, and it's hard to get a parking spot.
Well, no shit. the parking. I tell you what, though, if you get up on top, if you got a vehicle that can get you up on top of the hill, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I don't want to drive up there every week. But
and I wanted to get to 100 career wins this year. That was my second goal, and we made that happen too. We're sitting at 104.
Yeah.
Now people says, why did you count them? Because I had a dad that won 300 and some that never did count them. So we estimated he won 300 and some races. Yeah. So obviously when I started racing, I thought, I'm going to keep counting how many I win. I didn't know I'd ever win 20. Yeah. But, here we're sitting where we at, and we've had a really good career.
Yeah, that's why I said, guys in Campbellsville area that owns race cars. That's why I was saying maybe right down the street here, just maybe you might want to take a look. Success in late model racing, especially now the crates, it's not easy. It's not easy at all because crate racing is what super late model was when we were, when I was a kid. That's what, you had 30 cars at every show, and they were just called late models. And that's kind of what, local racing is now. They're just late models. The only thing is they got a $10,000 crate engine on them now, right. So it's cheaper. But driving the crate car versus the super and the steel block, do you got to change your driving style any? Because I know it's more kind of momentum based or.
It's more momentum, but when it slicks off, these crate, they still spin. You still got to use the throttle. Okay. It's not wide open when it's slick. People think that, but it ain't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not.
If you're wide open, you're going backwards.
Yep.
But running the crate is so much less stress on you because if you're out there and you blow a motor and you got a super, you're out.
Yeah, for the year.
Or if you lap it out and you go to freshen it, well, you can buy a crate motor for what you're freshening it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're out there running an $8,000 crate motor and you blow it up, it don't hit you near as hard.
No, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually, if you blow a crate motor up, it means you dropped a valve, and you can still fix the damn engine. It's not.
Or you're doing something you shouldn't be, is why it blew up.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they need to police it a little more.
That's where I was going.
Yeah,
That's where I was going with this, because we're a big advocate for
I can
IMCA.
get in on this.
Yeah. You know, we're a big advocate for IMCA racing. A lot of people say they got too many rules, but you know, the policing of crate engines. That's why it gets such a bad rap. People are like, "Well, so and so's got cheated up in." I'm sure they say it about you every week.
Every week.
Yep.
Well, Watson, you know, look what car he's in this week. He's in the good engine car.
Every week.
I've heard that
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
too. So you know, it needs to be policed, but and the problem is, you know, on our end, like, it's not hard to police. You know, it's just taking the time to do it.
Yeah.
I've said this after the feature. Park the top 3 in a staging area. Pull the hoods off. Only those 3 guys go to each other's car. Look at the hoods. Look at the engines. Let them put a stopwatch on it. Give them 5-10 minutes. If they want to claim the guy, claim him. If you don't want to claim him, when time's up, go to the trailer. You can cover your back end up. Nobody wants to see you set up. You know?
Right.
If anybody looked at my Swart setup, it'd be way different than what their Longhorn was anyway. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Master Build or whatever they got. But just let the other drivers at least walk up and look. You don't have to touch nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like you go to IMCA racing. Like, we've been to the Super Nationals.
Yeah.
And you know, they tear the damn engine down.
They put bolts in their body. They actually have to take their bodies off when they pull into the tech room, so they can check everything, the whole underneath of the car. I mean, it's amazing what they do.
Yeah, I mean, they got a ride height rule. Even their late model stuff, they got a ride height rule, a shock rule. I mean, you pull in, they tell you pull the right side and left side off, and you know, pull in the building here, and we'll let you know when we're done. You go outside.
Well, I get it. I get it. You got to have more people to do that.
Yeah.
And more educated people to do that.
Right.
But man, we got to find a way.
Well-
Because I can tell you, after racing a long time, there's some cars out there that's questionable, and I'm just gonna leave it at that, because I can promise you I'm 200% legal. If the people think I'm cheating, no.
Well,
The only way I'm cheating is I'm cheating myself from doing other things because I'm in this garage every night.
well, yeah, that's
right. Yeah.
and sacrifices is another big thing in racing. Like,
Yeah.
people don't understand what you sacrifice.
And it's like your career. I mean, all the wins you've got, you didn't get those from sitting in there watching TV.
No.
You got those from being right here in this garage, busting your butt every single night. I mean, I know I've done it. I've won 4 track championships, and I didn't do that by going. I lived up the street. I might have been at my house 2 hours a night, the whole night sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing too is, like, you know, we're talking about policing. Like, right now, especially in Central Kentucky, the crate late model field is strong, so we don't need to let it get out of hand like we let the modifieds get out of hand.
Yeah.
Because you know, the open modified scene is it's scarce right now, and you had a modified. You know, it's scarce right now. You know, so we need to do something to make sure that the crate racing stays alive, because you know, the crates have saved the racetracks that's left in Central Kentucky. If we lose the crates, you know, we're going to lose all the racetracks.
I don't like the tire roll on the crates. You know, I like Americans, but I don't feel like we need a soft tire to start out with. Put us all on hard tires.
Yeah.
Make us go race.
Right. Yeah.
You know-
It's the same for everybody then. I mean,
And
and it's cheaper. You don't have to burn up as many tires. And
I think that soft tire makes the track rubber worse because it's wearing out. Where's the rubber go on the racetrack?
Well, that's another thing I was going to get into and ask you about this, because there's a big controversy lately about racetracks rubbering, and the first answer is promoters aren't doing what they're supposed to do to get the tracks right. Well, the promoters are doing the same thing they've always done. They're working the racetrack, putting water in. But I think A, the shocks are too good, the cars are hooked up, and B, the tires aren't what they used to be, and the tires are going somewhere, and they're going to the racetrack. So, you know, what do you think about shock technology? Because you're a guy that still, you know, does the stuff yourself. You know, do you think the shocks are too hooked up, or I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think the cars themselves are just so hooked up. You know, as far as shocks, people talk about shocks a lot, but I can honestly say I hardly ever adjust my shocks. Yeah, I got double adjustables, but I think I gave $1,500 for the set. I paid a guy to valve them for me, and I barely even adjust them. So I'm not going to say it's shocks. It's just spring, loads, people figuring out what the load needs to be, all this data acquisition stuff that's leaked down from Lucas Oil that's coming down to the crates, and people's understanding where they need to be at 2 inches, 3 inches.
Yeah,
the
everybody has to have a spring smasher now, you know, and just.
Which I still scale mine, but I do know load numbers. But I had a T-shirt a couple years ago. I'm a little bit of, I'm a little bit of new school, but a whole lot of old school.
All right, well, let me ask you, you scale it electric scale or grain scale?
I'm grain scale.
I knew that was going to be your answer. That's why I asked you.
Yeah.
Hey, I can put the car on the grain scale and get underneath, roll around, look, work on them a whole lot easier. And I've been under there and fall asleep before, just sitting there thinking, you know, what can I do?
Well, one question about the grain scale. You run string lines down the side, cross Xing it and measuring it and all that?
No, I don't do that.
Okay, you don't do that? Okay. That was an old pavement thing.
Yeah, I think that's more pavement, Bobby.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, when I first started, my dad, he's made me, and I've got string lines going everywhere, and Dad, what the hell are we doing? So, I think he was doing it to mess with me more than anything, but he's just seeing what I would do as a kid, you know.
Yeah.
He's like, don't take the string on out.
You was leaving him alone while he was doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
He was doing the important stuff.
Yeah.
I do use plumb bobs a lot. Get
Yeah.
in there and use plumb bobs.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what a plumb bob is.
No, that's a lot of people. I know J Bob, but they don't know they don't know about no plumb bob. Especially down here in Campbellsville. There's a lot more J Bobs than plumb bobs, I promise you. So, you know, going forwards, how much longer are you going to run?
I don't know. I've been telling people I got one more year, but
You've said that 4 years ago.
as long as we're still running good and winning and having fun, the race day I love. It's the weekly in the shop every night. You know, I don't have a life. Everybody else is out having fun. You know, they might be on the lake. They might be doing this, doing that. Well, I can't do that tonight. I got to do this to the car. You know, I got to do this. I got to do this. So
I understand because we've dedicated our life to racing. You know, I'm fortunate enough, and Kurt as well. Like, you know, my wife, like if I told her tomorrow I want to go racing again, she'd be like, okay, sweet. Because that means we're only going to go racetrack one night a week instead of 3.
Yeah.
So, you know, like my wife would think that's easy. Like, well, good deal. You know,
break.
Yeah, we get a break because, I mean, hell, just last weekend we went to West Memphis, Arkansas. You know, so like when I got out of racing, you know, I started coaching and I was like, I need something to do. Like, so, I mean, there was one year, me and my wife, we went to 140 races across the country and just watching. Yeah. And everybody's like, wow, you got so much energy. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not working on nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to the race. I got all week to recover.
Yeah. So, when you used to working every single night.
Yeah, you used to work, you know, I used to race 3 or 4 nights a week. It'd kill me, you know.
Yeah.
you gotta understand, you know, I own this car right here at Revolution. Mm-hmm. I own that Swartz sitting out there. That car over there belongs to a guy named Lewis Brady. My dad drove for him in the 70s. So it's 50 years later that I'm still driving for the same guy. So just think how long he's been in racing.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
You know, that's great. I mean, and it gets back to relationships. I mean,
right.
You know, I know it's got to be tough because that's what you've always done, and your dad's not there to go anymore. But you still have the friendships and you still have the relationships. So, you know, I know it's making your dad proud.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, you know, my dad, hell, I had to drive over his house last week because he's like, "You're doing a podcast." Like, I can't figure the damn thing out. So I had to go over and, you know, show him how to listen to it. And he's like, "Well, that's pretty cool," you know. And so, you know, I just, you know, from us as former racers, and you know, we're doing these interviews, and you know, we're trying to pull the curtain back a little bit, you know. So Jeff Watson deserves a chance to run a super late model before he calls it quit. If you get an opportunity to run a super late model, you got another 5-10 years in you, don't you?
I'd probably find it somewhere.
Oh yeah, I think you could then.
So, so he's just like when we interviewed Brian Barber a few weeks ago. He's ready to retire, but not really.
Yeah.
This time of year, see, if see, Flash, if we interview these guys in March,
Yeah.
they're excited, ready to go.
Yeah.
But when you interview them in October, November, like, damn, I'm about done.
Yeah.
Because I'm wore out.
They're a little wore out. I know the feeling.
March is my favorite time of year. Racing's getting ready to start.
College basketball.
College basketball.
Yeah.
Let's see. Me and Jeff, we're gonna have to go to some basketball games together. So because it's not the block charge that that everybody thinks, you know, basketball wise, like it's the block charge. No, that's not the issue. The issue is that the defender don't have to be set if he's guarding
No.
the ball.
No.
And that's my big gripe. It's like, he's not set. I'm like, he's guarding a damn ball. He can't be set. So we're going to go to a basketball game and, you know, because I've done some officiating myself since I quit coaching. I did some Little League stuff. I'm no official. I'll just say that. You know, I'm the guy that while the play's going on, I'm handing the ball to the kid, and I'm like, right wing's open. You know, that's official. But we need to go to the game together because that's my biggest pet peeve is, you know, everybody's like, you know, he's not set. I'm like, he don't got to be set. The off-ball defender's got to be set.
All my partners tell me, coach can be irate. Might not be over my call, but a coach is irate. I can go to him. He's way up here is on the irate level. By the time we get through talking, he's down here. Or another official can go over automatic
Technical, yeah. Well, as this kind of veers off from the racing thing, but, you know, I was the type coach that I got an official's ass to the extent, you know, I didn't work officials. Like, there's a lot of guys in coaching. I'm going to work this guy tonight. I got him.
Yeah.
Not like that. I mean, I'm just spearheaded enough if I believe the call's right, I'm just going to let you know you missed it, on my opinion. And I had one guy tell me one time, he said, I said, you missed that one. And he said, I did, but your kid just missed 4 threes. Don't worry about me. So,
And you called the wrong play. Don't forget that.
Well, yeah, no, I've done that shit a lot. Yeah. But ask any mom that's emailed me, messaged me, or called the board. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So, and I'm sure you get the same thing. But so we're about 35 minutes in. I can talk to you all night. We can do this, you know, once a week because that's the kind of relationship we have. And it's not like we grew up best friends or nothing. We just kind of hit it off bullshit at the racetrack about a restart or start or restart, however you wanted to call it. We went back and forth, and actually I was pretty stern about what I thought was right. But then after talking to you, I kind of thought about it a little bit. But still, you got to have a rule somewhere. So
Being in a crate car, restart's huge.
Well, yeah, because, you know, you need the momentum. So, yeah, we were going back and forth. I'm going to tell this story right before we get off. We were going back and forth, and he told me, he said, Bobby, you ain't no damn team when you're starting. I don't care where the start line is. You ain't a damn team. The leader starts the race. And I said, well, yeah. I said, but you got to kind of, you know, stay together. He goes, you're not working together. You're trying to win.
Hey, if it's a bad start, it has to be one of them's fault.
Yeah, it's not both. Yeah. I do, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, but the funny,
We're racing against each other. We're trying to get we're trying to get the edge on that guy. So if we get the edge too good and we mess the start up, that's on the person that messed it up. Yeah. That's not on the whole front row to move it back.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny part of that story. So we're probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We probably talked for this 20 minutes. The damn driver's meeting's still going on, and we're still going back and forth about the start of the race, right?
Yeah.
Well, start of the heat race. Jeff's competitor got the advantage, as he said, and had him by about 3 car lengths at the flag stand. And Jeff drove down in there and threw a slider from Campbellsville all the way to Mount Vernon. He slid him and took off, and the guy behind him got on the brakes and spun out. And then when the feature was over, you know, Jeff won, and I'm interviewing him, and I said, I gave you so much shit over at start. You wasn't going to let him beat you into turn 1, was you? He's like, we were going to wreck going into turn 1. So, guys, listen, if you want to tease Jeff Watson at the racetrack, I got bad news for you. All you're going to do is piss him off, and he's going to win that night. He's probably going to win anyways, but if you give him a jab 3 hours before the races start, there's a good chance that he's going to have the final word. And since we're speaking on the final word, anything you want to thank your sponsors or anything, or?
Yeah, I got a lot of good guys to help me. My team, my buddy Barry sitting out there on the golf cart listening to us.
Yeah.
Well, damn, Barry, come on in.
And He's my right hand man, and Kevin Richardson helps us, and Lewis always goes with us. Brady. But as far as sponsors, I got a lot of good people. Most of them's right here in Campbellsville. Huber Apartments, that's Danny Huber. He used to sponsor my dad back in the day. Got Watson's Auto Repair. That's Darryl. He's from Taylorsville. He met up with us at Junction City one night just 'cause my last name was Watson. His last name was Watson. He thought it'd be good to sponsor me. I said, I think it'd be good too.
Hell yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah. And if you know any Toms or whatever, we'll take them too.
But he's a good guy and done us really good. Able Eyes from here in Campbellsville. Horde Landscapes. That's Scott right here in Campbellsville. Schaffner Enterprise. Exit Realty Homestead. Michael Watson Plumbing. Keltner Contracting. He sponsors a lot of super late models. Big time. Mills Motor Sales, Brad Burton Dairy Farm, Newcomb Courier, Wilson Plumbing, Wayne's Auto Repair, and Burton Investment Group. Appreciate all those guys.
All right, and like I said, guys, if you have a super late model, all right, this is not Jeff Watson saying this. He's too humble. He would never say this. But this is Bobby and Kurt from the Trading Sliders, especially Bobby. I got big shoulders. I coach basketball. I had moms mad at me, so I don't care if I got car owners mad at me. It's okay. It won't be the first time somebody's been mad at me and sent me an email. Because, well, look at it. If you're mad enough about this, you at least listen to the show. So that's a plus. But guys, please, somebody out there, before he retires, give Jeff Watson a shot in a super late model. I promise you won't be disappointed. I promise you, he will do the work. You don't have to worry about him just showing up with a helmet. He's gonna, you can bring it right here.
He knows what he's doing.
He can push the S10 right out of the garage right now, and he's got a big enough garage for 4 race cars, 5 race cars. It doesn't matter. He's got 3 in it right now, and hell, he can even get 6. He can raise the one up on the lift up high enough to get it out of the way. But guys, as a race fan, and as someone who loves the sport of dirt late model racing. I'm going to say thank you, Jeff, for doing this, and I really, really hope you get a shot. And if you don't, he's okay with it, but we're not. Right. He's fine where he's at. He's winning races, and he knows when he pulls in the racetrack, there's a good chance that everybody's going to say he's the favorite, and he's got a cheated up engine. He's got soft tires. He's doing all the rule
special shocks.
He's got special shocks, traction control. That's one thing. Yeah. He's got traction control with the cheated up crate engine. So he's going to win. Okay, that's just the way it is.
Some of them think I got a series car. I got a local show car.
Yeah, I've heard that same thing. Well, look, now he's got the blue roof on. I said, yeah, well, because he tore shit up last week in the other car.
Yeah.
Hey, all those guys that think that, come over here and visit us. You might be afraid to come up in this neighborhood that we're in right here because it's kind of rough.
See, I felt at home.
I thought it was nice.
Well, see, I knew something. I felt at home because I knew I was like. So it's kind of like being in the hood. Because I was like, shit, this is a nice part of town.
Well, it was good back in the day when I was raised here, but it's got rough here lately.
No, Jeff, this isn't rough. You come down and hang out with me for a week.
Yeah.
We'll go to my dad's shop. You want to see rough. So, but all jokes aside, we really appreciate this. And like I said, guys, Jeff Watson, if you don't know him, you should. I'm just going to say that if you don't know him, it's because you're not from the state of Kentucky.
Yeah.
One of the fame families in all of dirt late model racing. And thanks again, Jeff, for doing this.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
There we were, Campbellsville, Kentucky's Jeff Watson. I really, really liked the interview there with Jeff Watson, Flash. We went down. It was our first 30-way interview, 3-minute interview.
We actually had 3 mics on, yeah.
Again, that's something else that we're learning to do. Had to hook more shit up.
Still trying to figure it out.
But it was neat sitting there hanging out in his race shop that burnt down. And, you could tell he takes a lot of pride in his stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, you can tell that he wouldn't say this, but I think it kind of bothers him that he hasn't gotten many opportunities to compete at a high major level.
Right.
Big time super late model racing.
And for you guys starting out that's just got a small garage to work out of, you can go fast out of the small garage.
Yeah, 100%. Like Watson's garage, you can get a bunch of cars in.
Yeah.
But they're just all a couple bays.
Yeah.
They're different bays individually. Yeah. And if you're in the Campbellsville area, and Watson said this, we were joking at him about, cheated up crate engines, and because you always hear this, but like Watson said, his door's always open. You're more than welcome to come by. But that's not just for, hey, look at me, I'm not cheating.
Right.
That's for the young kids that, are trying to learn stuff.
Yeah.
If you're in the Campbellsville area, I'm telling you, go by and hang out at Jeff Watson's shop.
Drink some water while you're in Campbellsville too.
Yeah, yes.
There's a lot of fast race cars drivers come out of Campbellsville.
Yeah, Campbellsville, Kentucky. Like me and Flash, we stopped by in the creek and got handfuls of water and bottomed them up just in case our old ass decides we're gonna go racing in again.
Yeah,
we're gonna
drink some.
We're gonna drink some of that water before we get in the car. But really, really fascinating guy. Made a big sacrifice, and a lot of people probably don't know that Watson was a basketball official. So
his daughter's playing ball, or what? She did play ball.
Yeah. Led the record in the school for 3-point shots. And one thing that he said that, before we get into this weekend stuff, one thing he said that really stuck out with me was, asking about sacrifices in racing. And, he said, it took a burden on his family. And his dad raced, and, that's all he knows. He's just going to race. And, one thing that he said that I've never really used it that way or thought about it that way, but since he said it, there's a lot of things that I'm gonna use this analogy a lot. When you do something at a high level, and somebody says you're cheating, he said the only thing I was cheated out is my life.
Yeah,
I'm cheated out of doing stuff that everybody else does because I work in the garage around the clock.
Like I said, his buddies are all out on the lake or hunting or something. And he's working on the race car.
Yeah, he said, hell, I would like to go fishing. I'd like to go hunting. Yeah. But he's got 3 race cars there to take care of. So, big thank you to Jeff Watson, for doing the interview and being so candid, so open.
Yeah.
About, because a lot of guys who get, people accuse them of cheating and this and that would really, really offend them. And, he takes, I don't want to say he takes pride, but he takes, he puts so much work and effort into it that it pisses him off, but it don't offend him. It's kind of flattery, It's kind of a compliment that because, he's got nice equipment, but even in the crate world, he don't have what the other guys got. He does it his way, and that's what I like about Jeff Watson.
Well, the car he wins all the races with is old burner race car.
It's old smoke
when it caught on fire. Yeah.
So big shout out to Jeff Watson. And this weekend there's 3 pretty big events coming up and throughout the South/Midwest. I-75 Raceway has the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Car Series this weekend. Super late models with a support class being USCS Outlaw 360s.
Yeah.
5,000 to win Friday night. I think 15,000 to win super late model Saturday night. So that's a big payout. Big event. Anytime you can see late models and sprint cars, that's
same night.
Same night is awesome.
Cool. I'd love to go then. If I didn't have stuff I already had to do this weekend, that's probably where I'd be going.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I-75 is a pretty neat racetrack since they've made it they took it from Talladega to Talladega Short Track.
Yeah.
So because it was.
Well, we made the trip down there to watch.
Yeah.
About a month ago, but we got rained out, so
yeah, it didn't happen.
Didn't work out.
And then the XR is hosting. It's the 50th annual National 100 at East Alabama Motor Speedway. They start racing like on Thursday. It's a 4 or 5 day event.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the version of the year end Ice Bowl.
Right.
They got 602 late models, 604 late models, late model sportsmen, super late models, Crate Racing USA mods, street stocks, thunder stocks, front wheel drives. If they race it on dirt, they're going to be racing at East Alabama this weekend.
Right.
Saturday, super late model. One thing cool about the National 100 weekend, 2 separate shows for the super late model. Saturday, super late model, $15,000 to win, XR series. And Sunday, super late model, $30,000 to win, National 100.
Man.
So if it's anything like the last few years, it's going to have a top. And Bobby Pierce, I don't know how many races Bobby Pierce has won.
I think it's 35 now.
I think it's 35 or 36. Yeah. There's a good possibility it's going to be 37 or 38 after this weekend because East Alabama's been having a lip. And if it's got a lip, Bobby Pierce is the man to beat. So East Alabama this weekend for the National 100.
Not to change the subject, but I seen a thing on Bobby Pierce the other day. It was an interview with him, and I was just reading it. But he said, I don't want to be like everybody else. He said, I want to be like Scott Bloomquist. He said, "I want to dominate. I don't want to show up and just win races here and there." He said, "I want to win every race."
Well,
that's pretty cool how he's going about it.
He's sure the hell trying that this year. I mean,
he's doing a good job of it.
He's done a damn good job on a national tour.
Yeah.
Like the thing that
everybody used to talk about him cherry picking in the
Summer Nationals.
But
first off, you can't cherry pick in the Summer Nationals.
No.
That is hard.
You're going to racetracks where the local guys are so fast at them places most of the time the other guys can't beat them when they do show up there. And
you drove 5 hours overnight in 100-degree temperature, worked on your shit all day out in the. I mean, the Summer Nationals called the Hell Tour for a reason.
Yeah,
I know people say that the Lucas Oil Late Model Series or the World of Oil Late Models is really tough because of all the travel.
Yeah,
but you're doing 50 races over 8 months.
Yeah.
The Summer Nationals, you're doing 29 races in 33 days.
Yeah.
So there's no cherry picking on the Summer Nationals.
Oh, no.
And it shows that a guy that races more often will, have better finishes. And Bobby Pierce, he races anywhere he can.
Now they say the same. They were saying the same thing about Uncle Turbo. And he just won $20,000 in Mississippi.
Was
it Mississippi?
Yeah, Magnolia. Yeah, we Turbo had to get his mind right and go run the Summer Nationals. So, that's one of my bucket lists just to go watch the Summer Nationals. 1 year when I retire, this is a whole nother show because we bounce around all the time. But, but when I retire, I'm going to try to hit the Summer Nationals, USAC Sprint Week, and Ohio Sprint Week all in the same year.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go to the races like 100 straight nights.
Yeah.
Probably won't happen, but damn, it's a hell of a go to have. Yeah. And then the last event I want to talk about this weekend is that one of my favorite racetracks that I've been to, Lake Ozark Speedway. When we talk about you got sprint cars and late models, they've got the Power Eye Nationals, so it's the end of the Power Eye 410 Outlaw Sprints. This series next year is expanding. They're going to come over to Indiana and Illinois, so they're kind of gonna try to take over where the All-Star Circuit Champions. But they got Power Eye Outlaw 410 wing sprint cars, the War non-wing 410 sprint cars, and Super Late Models. All running, all three got $5,000 win both Friday and Saturday night.
Man.
So that's going to be a really, really good show at Lake Ozark.
Yeah.
And locally, all the racing's about done. The only place that I know racing locally is Rock Castle. It's their fun day.
That's going to be on November 9th, I believe.
No, Rock Castle's November 2nd. Yeah.
2nd, yeah.
Southern All-Stars is November 9th.
Right.
But Rock Castle, I think they're going to do something different. I was talking to some guys at the racetrack last night. So when you come in, usually pill draw for your starting positions or heat races.
Yeah.
They're going to get kids out of the stands, and they're going to foot race and went like a little short distance. And hopefully there's no guy like me behind them yell go and mess the race up like we did down at West Memphis.
Yeah.
But they're going to race, and when that kid gets there, he's going to draw a number out of the hat, and that's where said driver starts.
Oh, okay.
So each kid's going to have a number. They're going to put a posting number on them.
Yeah.
And they're going to race. And the kid draws, if he's, number 6, then the 6th, whoever drew the 6th pill, he draws his name out, and that's where he's going to start. So he may start 10, 12, 14.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't know where you're going to start.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool because it's keeping the kids excited.
Oh, yeah.
And the kids have somebody to choose from. And B, shout out to, to the guys at Rock Castle for just doing something different.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, yeah, let's try this. I mean,
yeah.
And I think, it was released this week. The Southern All-Star Super Late Model Series is going to have one more race this year. And it's going to be November 9th at 191 Speedway in Campton. So, race season is winding down, but if you don't mind traveling, you can still catch a few races.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, it's all we got for upcoming events. You got anything to close the show out, Flash?
No, just the same thing we always say. Just try to support your local racetracks if you can. And if you have to travel a little bit, sometimes that's the best part of the trip for us is traveling sometimes.
Well,
so if you get you some buddies to ride with or something, it's a lot of fun sometimes.
Yeah, usually there's a lot of times that the trip to the racetrack is actually better than the race trip itself.
Oh, yeah.
So, because, hell, you may blow out a tire, turn completely sideways on the expressway between 3 semis, and have to change 5 flats on the way home.
Oh,
There's all kinds of stories like that out there. But
Yeah.
Yes, guys, get out, support your local racetracks. We're going to say this each and every week. We're not going to forget to say this. We're going to say this because we support every racetrack in the country. Hell, it don't even got to be your local racetrack. Support a racetrack.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you got to drive to Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama. You only live once.
Yeah.
So, the
There's some place you want to go see it.
go see it because it may not be there.
Yeah.
Green Valley Speedway was an awesome racetrack that we kind of took for granted. We're going to go to the Bama Bash every year, and hell, it's gone.
I only got to go there one time.
Yeah. But guys, get out, support your local racetrack. Big shout out to Walt at Speed Decals for sponsoring the show again this week. And like I said, until next time,
Yeah.
we'll be trading sliders.